castanets or something. Like, you can kind of get a rhythmic motion to it. And I'm comfortable making that superlative judgment. It was originally an accident, but it does work. I think he was trying to put that little worm in our brains there. Hey everybody, I'm Seth V for the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera, and thanks for joining us for another New Knives of the Week. We've got tons of new stuff, all new knives from some of our favorite brands, brand new steels to talk about, and the return of a legendary beast.
The trick was narrowing it down to these.
Yeah, there was so much new stuff this week. You're gonna have to check out the new items page if you want to see it all. But let's jump in with the knife I'm most excited to show you guys. The brand new Elishewitz pocket tool, EPT for short, from Ka-Bar. Now this little guy is $57.99 and it is drop forged, much like the original Ka-Bar wrench knife. But this one has a couple extra tricks up its sleeve. First of which is going to be this integrated wire pocket clip. Really nice addition to the package here. Makes it legitimately EDC-able. Works quite well. I've tested it in my pocket. And I think pairs very nicely with this finger ring. So makes it just dead simple to pull out of the pocket. And let's talk about the sheath too, because the sheath is a big part of the system. It is injection molded, a single piece. Snaps on with a confident little snap there. Very good retention. But the inner edge of this is actually slightly hooked. So it's going to take a little practice, but you can get this to stay in the pocket when you pull the knife out. You know, if you hook this, kind of like
Not much practice. I did it accidentally.
Yeah, Thomas did it first try by accident. And much like the invention of the Emerson Wave, it was originally an accident, but it does work. And it kind of works the same way. So you got this little hook there. It stays in the pocket while the knife comes with your hand. It's really cool. I could see this being a great kind of all-around rough and tumble type knife, like a shop knife. The steel on it is, in order to make it a drop forged construction, is a relatively simple stainless alloy. It's not going to have world-class edge retention or anything, but it is made in the USA. It is under 60 bucks, and it is really cool. One other thing it is ambidextrous, because this clip is reversible. So it also means that with the finger ring, you can kind of set it up for inverted carry. So if you were to carry this on the right side, you could pull it out of the pocket in that reverse grip for full tactical flavor. All right, we just added a bunch of new Pro Techs to the site. Maybe the best drop of the year, if I'm being honest. These three here are going to kind of represent that drop, but there's definitely more to check out. There's a restock of Chavez Scapegoats in MagnaMax. There's, well, you're going to have to see for yourself. There's a lot of stuff, but these are the newest, latest, and greatest. Starting with the Brend Classic. Now, seasoned Pro Tech collectors will recognize this silhouette because the original Brend folder was much like this, but much larger. I think it had a 4-inch plus blade originally. This one is more optimized for EDC with a 3.1-inch blade, MagnaCut steel, and a price of $285. But that classic Brend style is here. Walter Brend is a legendary knife maker hailing from Tennessee, I believe, which is also why his maker's mark has the kind of Tennessee seal, a 3-star thing going on. The original Pro Tech Brend came in 3 sizes. There was that monstrously large one I mentioned. There was a mini one, even smaller than this, and then a medium-sized one. And this one kind of sits in between all of those old versions. The handle is large enough, even with this angle here, for me to comfortably get all 4 fingers on. Nests into the pinky and ring finger grip very nicely for like a pinch grip. This feels just so agile and so usable. The blade shape too, it looks upswept, but it's actually, is it a flat or is it actually, it's actually a drop point. So it's a bit of kind of visual trickery that Brend has done. The swedge is very upswept, but the spine is still a drop point. So it's very usable, very controllable. Just a great, almost like a dagger-like grind, but with the drop points, more all-around utility. I really, really like the Brend, and I'm so glad to see it back in the ProTech lineup. Next, we have a redesigned version of the ProTech and Vero collab, the Synapse. This right here is the Synapse 2. Comes in at $315 with aluminum scales and a MagnaMax blade. So the changes here from the original version are actually pretty subtle. As far as I can tell, the only thing they actually changed was the way it was constructed. The original Synapse had micarta or maybe some G10 kind of top scales with aluminum on the other side. They've moved to a full aluminum construction here. I think they may have tweaked the spring as well, but don't quote me on that. Really, it's very little changes to get us to this Synapse 2, but altogether it does feel very nice. I, being a ProTech fan, am actually a big fan of the all aluminum construction. I enjoy this change. Plus, it gives them a chance to do some very cool milling on this. We've got this like segmented herringbone pattern going on. It feels incredible in hand. Just like a luxurious texture, like a fine textile almost. It looks cool, also adds a bit of grip. Another element that they've borrowed from Vero's own brand, I guess, is the pocket clip, which is straight off the Vero knives. It's a good thing to borrow because it is an excellent pocket clip. It's milled, but has all the utility of a standard bent clip. Excellent spring tension on it, slides in and out of the pocket very comfortably. And then let's hit that action. Dead reliable, no bounce, hits hard every time. I think you could make the case that this is ProTech's most well-rounded EDC knife. I'm not going to call it the best. I don't think I could declare any single one of them the best. But with its drop point blade and straightforward handle, I would be comfortable recommending this one to the most people. I think it's going to work for everybody. The ergonomics are just so neutral. I get kind of two positions of grip here. Back with 2 fingers in this finger groove and 2 on the end of the handle. Very comfortable, feels very steadfast in hand. And then I can choke up onto this flat portion of the edge to get right behind the edge and still be anchored on the handle. It's a very intelligently designed kind of ergonomic layout and just a straight to the point drop point profile that is going to make this one work very well for a lot of people.
I almost forgot to talk about MagnaMax.
We'll get to MagnaMax on this next knife because the big upgrade, the big news here is the blade steel. This is the TR4, a long-time member of ProTech's lineup, but here rocking brand new MagnaMax steel. So let's talk about why that matters. MagnaMax is the follow-up from MagnaCut, designed by the same mad metallurgist, Dr. Larry Thomas. Basically, it kind of re-optimizes or rebalances the MagnaCut formula to boost the edge retention while only sacrificing just a little bit of toughness. It's not as absolutely tough as MagnaCut, but it is still significantly more tough than other steels with a comparable amount of edge retention. So you still get the kind of magic of MagnaCut being very stainless, very tough, very much edge retention, but just pushed up that curve of edge retention. ProTech seems to be going all in on MagnaMax. They've got a couple of designs with it now, so they must be very impressed with its performance too. As for the knife, this here has 4 inches of blade, a sizable aluminum handle, and an asking price of $375. A real killer tactical design. We got some old school kind of mil spec features with the safety, which I think is still required for a knife that's going to be issued to service members. It also locks the button in the open position so you can't close it accidentally. ProTech's excellent snappy action and a bunch of finger grooves on the handle to lock you in place. If you needed a knife to use while wearing gloves, for example, I think this would be an absolutely perfect choice for that. Or if you just like kind of a slightly larger than average tactical folder with hard-hitting automatic action and the latest and greatest blade steel, these new TR4s are for you. All right, we've got a new one from Ocaso up next. This is the Charter. coming in at $292.49 with M390 steel and milled titanium handles. This is actually, I believe, the first knife from Ocaso that's been manufactured by Reate. Impeccable quality, unbelievably smooth action, and really like the best in the industry when it comes to quality control. It is a elegant and very usable design. Let's see, who designed this one? I don't think Mac Kelsey, who is a Tennessee custom knife maker and ABS journeyman smith.
All roads lead to Tennessee today.
Yeah. Something in the water, maybe. You know, there are a lot of knife makers down there. A lot of custom guys, too. So there must be a thriving community of makers. Shout out Tennessee. The knife is doing what Ocaso does best. A elegance, but a spirit of tactical performance kind of hidden within. If you know anything about Ocaso, perhaps you know that the founder, Rick, was with Cold Steel for decades, I believe, before he started the company. So, like, there's a little bit of that crazy tactical spirit in Ocaso, but just refined to be the kind of knife that, you know, you could carry in a suit to a board meeting, or just in a pair of jeans if you didn't want to have, you know, that Espada XL with you all the time. They are gentleman tactical knives through and through, and that means that they really work well as knives while also looking great. There are a couple of versions of this available. This one here has this excellent milled pattern, kind of a checkerboard thing going on. And the liner lock works flawlessly. It's so smooth on the close, particularly. Not drop shut, but just like glassy smooth, satisfying. You got ambidextrous thumb studs, work great. And I like how they've kind of made them a little smaller. They still catch the thumb nicely, but they stay out of the way of the cutting path. They're a little more discreet, a little classier, just a beautiful Ocaso touch. All right, we make a brief detour into the land of Boker for this next knife. This is the Kazy, designed by Gabrielle Barthélemy. Comes in at $93.46, and we've got 2.6 inches of Nitro V steel, contoured G10 handles, and a deep carry pocket clip. Pretty stylish piece here. I like the size too. It's a very efficient use of handle space. You know, despite the 2.5-ish inch blade, I can easily get a 4-finger grip on this, and that is a neat trick for sure. I think part of the efficiency comes from the front flipper deployment, which, you know, doesn't get any thumb studs in the way or flipper tab taking up handle space. It works quite well. I have really no issues with it. You can approach it a couple different ways too, thanks to this little angle, kind of up over the top or straight on. You know, front flipper connoisseurs will enjoy this one. That's all I can say. The handle is angular but fairly comfortable. The pocket clip stays out of the way. Yeah, if you like this style, I think it's a decent value for what you get. The fit and finish is there. The design is, you know, just cool. This is just a cool knife. Speaking of cool knives, we have the latest from GEO Knife. This here is the Cirex. So GEO is a new brand, but they have quickly made a name for themselves with their signature combination of features, which is M390 steel, crossbar lock action, and a surprisingly affordable price. Their big hit was the ethereal cutter, but this one offers quite a bit more blade length and a bit more, well, it's a bit cooler. We've got a bit more style to it. So 3.5 inches of blade, M390 steel, like I said, and for these G10 versions, a asking price of $95.20. Their crossbar lock is one of the best out there. Kind of just, it's unimpeachable. The action is good. The spring tension is good. Feels like a little stiffer on the Omega springs than some other brands, but I like that. And the spring tension is actually adjustable, so you can tune it to your preference. But I think what sets this knife apart is the blade shape. A very stylish double clip there with an extra run of jimping in that first clip point depression. So you can kind of choke up with your thumb there. Feels like an inviting space to bear down into a cut if you need to. The jimping behind it is very effective, catches your fingers even better. And the tip is very, very precise with a true convex clip. I'm happy to point out that the clip is ambidextrous, so you can enjoy the naturally ambidextrous nature of the crossbar lock. And if you don't like this light blue, you can get it in purple, you can get it in black, or brown for the time being. Nice G10 handles, a bit of some chamfers around the edges, a little bit of sculpting to give it some shape, but just a simple handle shape that's going to work for a lot of people. We just stocked a big batch of Reate EXO gravity knives, including the return of the full-sized EXO OG, but now with their new safety. If you remember this knife, it made quite a splash when it came out a few years ago, but it did not have a pocket clip when it dropped. Yeah, let's see the action. Dropped just like that. So gravity knife means that it's not an automatic knife, but the knife sort of deploys under kinetic energy or gravity. This system was and is a huge hit. It's really fun to use. It makes an absolutely loud and impressive sound that is guaranteed to annoy everybody around you, but be very addicting to the user. Ask me how I know. But yeah, I had one of these originals, and I did love it, and I loved playing with it, using it, but it didn't have a good way to carry it. I mean, it came with a belt sheath, but belt sheaths are not really my thing. So Reate, listened to their customers. They engineered this little safety, which both locks it closed, so that in your pocket, there's no way for these handle scales to come apart and let the blade fall. Allows them to add a pocket clip to the design, so you can safely clip it and get that blade out when you need it. It also locks the blade open, so you don't have to rely on just the force of your grip holding it closed to keep that blade deployed. It's a real genuine improvement to the system, and it doesn't take anything away from what made these so cool in the first place, which is their addicting action. So we have these in a number of configurations. This one right here has a 3 3/4 inch L-Max blade, titanium handles, black canvas micarta inlays, and price of $285. It's almost like a percussion instrument, like castanets or something. Like, you can kind of get a rhythmic motion to it. They are so fun. And this was the original. We've seen like so many knockoffs of these, so many other types of tools coming with this mechanism, but Reate was the first. These are still the best, and I think you got to try one. And if you prefer a slightly smaller knife, you can get the EXO M. These are also back in stock with a bunch of different handle variants. That same great safety for allowing pocket clip carry. The EXO M's come with a deep carry pocket clip too, so a little more EDC optimized, and most of these have a price of $285 with L-Max steel. Next up, we have a new version of the Benchmade Lowden. The originals had aluminum and M390, I believe. This new version has S90V steel with G10 handles. A little bit of a tweaked formula, but the price is actually lower. These are $300. And to me, the S90V steel kind of represents an upgrade. Some people might prefer M390, it's a little more stainless, but S90V steel is, I think, the best stainless steel for peak edge retention. If you don't want that balance of toughness, like MagnaMax offers, for example, you just want raw edge retention and you don't want it to rust. I still think S90V is probably the best choice for that. But anyway, I'm glad to see it on knives. I'm glad to see it here on the Lowden. This little guy is a kind of stylish, fidget-friendly axis lock knife from Benchmade. It features a axis lock flipper, bit of a rarity these days. Works great. They've refined the detent so that you actually get decent flipping action with it. And the handle shape is neutral. I get a decent 3.5 fingers of grip, though I can get 4 if I really scrunch up. a spear point blade profile. And the balance on this is very nice. I don't know for sure if it's lighter weight than the aluminums, but it feels light in the hand. Some decent grip from the G10. It's milled with that cool kind of, can we call it a fuller if it's on the handle? I don't think so. A groove, how about that? We've got
A groove.
Yeah. We've got a handle groove on there. Ambidextrous mounting points for the clip.
Wait, it's not a blood groove, it's a sweat groove.
Oh, yeah. Normally I roll my eyes at the blood groove comments, but I'll accept sweat groove this time. So yeah, if you like the Benchmade Lowden, but you want to save a few bucks and you enjoy S90V steel, this is the one for you. Now this Sage 6 from Spyderco features perhaps the superest super steel of all. And I really mean that. This here is the Sage 6 with Rex 121 blade steel and G10 handles, coming in at a price of $427.50. It is no budget knife, but what you are getting is absolute peak edge retention. Truly, Rex 121 is the literal top of the chart when it comes to measured edge retention. It is bordering on sintered carbide in terms of the length of time it resists abrasive deformation. It is just absolutely jam-packed, filled with vanadium carbides and chromium carbides and everything it can do to boost its edge retention. It is, I'm not going to say you'll never need to sharpen it, but it will stay sharp for so long you forget what you were talking about. The price is way up there for it, but one other thing with this steel, it may not be able to be manufactured again. As far as I know, Spyderco bought the last remaining quantities of Rex 121 on Earth. It was produced by Crucible. Crucible's out of business. The new foundries are either not able or not willing to kind of achieve the high heat or pressure or whatever magic they use to make this stuff. So whether it will be made again is kind of up in the air at the moment. So if you want to experience peak performance, this is what peak performance looks like. So real quick on the Sage 6, the Sage series features different locks for each one. So the Sage 5 had a compression lock. The Sage 6 has a button-operated compression lock. A truly excellent system here on what I think is actually Spyderco's most well-balanced EDC design. You know, it's about the same size as the Para 3 and the Native 5, but the Sage 6 is thinner, in my opinion, more comfortable, and features, in my opinion, a better lock. So the Sage 6 might be Spyderco's best EDC knife at the moment, and this is definitely the Sage with the most edge retention. Next, we have a bunch of new additions from Spanish brand Muela knives. Standing in for everything that's new, we have a fixed blade and a folder. This folder here has a, it doesn't really have a name, but it does have a number. This is the BX-9M.DX. DX in this case stands for Damex, which is this beautiful Damascus blade. Got 3.7 inches of it and an asking price of $521.90. This knife is very old school. Its construction, you know, it's a traditional back lock with the lock back actually at the rear end of the knife there. The materials are sort of traditional conservative knife making, just classic. Red liners, polished hand-shaped micarta scales, and a beautiful new Damascus blade. I think the Damascus steel is really what's, you know, driving the high price here. It's brand new to the market. It's made by a company called Aliema, and it features two kind of more high-performance alloys to form the composite blade. One is 19C27, and then another one is like an Aliema grade that I'm not familiar with, but I am told that it is a kind of competitor to the Damasteel products. So you're going to get slightly better edge performance than traditional Damascus blades, but with that beautiful look. I love the pattern on this blade, kind of a ladder style, with just cascading layers down to that edge. And the construction here is impeccable. You know, it's old school knife making at its best. We don't have a pocket clip or anything to get in the way of the ergonomics. Just a simple handle with a nicely sized finger scallop to lock you into place. And no pocket clip in the way, man. That is nice. Sometimes, if I'm not enjoying the way a knife feels, you know, maybe I got a new knife and I don't know, I'm not sure about the ergonomics. I will actually take the pocket clip off to experience the handle unbesmirched. And sometimes that'll change my mind about how a knife actually works for me. So in this case, you don't even have to worry about that. It's just a comfortable experience all around. The package is quite nice. Comes with this nice little gift box here. It would make an excellent and very impressive gift, that's for sure. And if you aren't interested in spending that much money, but you enjoy the design, I'm happy to tell you it also comes with conventional blade steel for a significant cost savings. Next, we have the Muela Mouse, coming in at $211.65. This little skinner here is quite the handy little knife, if I do say so myself. Interesting combination of a wide handle but a short handle length. Makes it quite appropriate actually for kind of sitting into the palm of your hand there with your finger out along the edge for legitimate sort of skinning purposes. A bit like an Alaskan ulu. You could think of it as, a dedicated skinning and slicing tool. The sheath on this is a beautifully made welted leather affair with a kind of belt loop on the back, a retention snap loop, and some nice little tooling to fancy it up a bit. But yeah, I think this is, it's a charming little knife. It's a legitimate skinning tool. You could also use it as an impromptu kitchen knife, with all that drop to the edge. Easy to use this thing on a cutting board. Yeah, it's got a hollow grind to it and 14C28N steel. So even though it's quite sturdy, it still kind of has some keen edge geometry, optimized more for slicing than for anything else. But got some decent thickness to the flats there too. I don't know, it's doing a lot of things. It's a interesting hybrid design, and I do find myself quite charmed by it. All right, now we get to the return of the beast.
Speaking of chunky.
Yeah, my goodness. We had a huge drop of work tough items. Way too many to put on the table are in stock now. Mega choppers, got some kind of bolo machete style ones, some supersized drop points, but I had to pull out the Ares Gen 2 because this is something of a legendary knife. I mean, heck, this looks like legendary loot in a video game, I can practically see it rotating and glowing out of a treasure chest or something. A price of just $249 for this. You get 9¼ inches of SK85 steel, sculpted G10 handles, an enormous Kydex sheath to go with it with a bunch of mounting options, and a design that is really just part axe. Yeah. This knife / axe was designed to survive the kind of tasks that you're not supposed to do with knives. This was made to baton. This was made to chop. It was made to pry even. Made to smash and use like a hammer. This is an instrument of brute force that, thanks to Work Tough's impeccable craftsmanship, is made like a fine custom fixed blade. I mean, let's talk about the edge geometry, because that is one thing that Work Tough really sets themselves apart with. The behind the edge thickness is massive. I don't really think I've seen a fixed blade knife that is thicker behind the edge, but the edge itself is so big that it's almost bordering on like a puko or like a Scandi grind. It's actually convex and is very, very highly polished and refined and symmetrical. So you're still going to get good cutting performance, but it's backed up by incredible strength from that geometry, that mass behind the edge. It's kind of the secret sauce to these oversized work tough knives. They cut well because they're sharp and keen at the edge, but they are incredibly thick and resistant to abuse. A couple of things that set this apart from the first run of these. The first of which is the change to the rear end of the handle here. The original had a dramatic kind of flare, almost came to a point. On the Gen 2 version, that's been much kind of rounded over, more comfortable. I really like that change. It makes the kind of choked back chopping position much more comfortable. Like, yeah, the original one had a little bit of nub there that was going to wear you out if you were chopping for a long time. Does not feel like the case with this one. You can choke up into the choil there. It's actually decently well balanced. Look at that. If you're in the choil, a lot of the weight kind of disappears and you can move it with much more precise control. And if you wanted to attach a lanyard to this, you got a ton of spots to choose from. You can do a forward lanyard up here. You could kind of string your lanyard around your hands if you wanted. Do a traditional style at the rear there. However you use this knife, it will just laugh and ask for more. That's the promise of the Aries. You know, it's not magic. I'm sure you could break it, but I've never seen anybody do it.
Someone's taking that as a challenge.
Yeah. I'd like to see it. I mean, heck, if you get this and you're able to break it, I feel sorry for you. I'm sorry about your broken knife, but...
Document for science.
Yeah, get it on camera, because I have a hard time believing you. Oh, one thing. I pulled this version because this features their new copper wash blade, and this version is copper washed. There's a bunch of the other new items that are copper washed from Work Tough. Really cool finish, kind of apocalyptic. You know, you got what looks like rust. It's not rust. It's kind of a copper finish. The whole coating is going to protect that SK85 carbon steel, but definitely matches the theme of this knife, I'd say. All right, now for something completely different, because this next knife from Work Tough is relatively itty-bitty. This right here is the Lightfoot. Coming in at $98.99, we've got 2.2 inches of K329 steel and a nice dark stone-washed finish. So K329 is a tool steel, which means that it has better wear resistance than your simple carbons, but it's not a stainless, it's not a high-end or a high edge retaining steel like that. It's a really good, I like tool steels a lot. They're really good performance, good balance of properties. This little guy is a good EDC fixed blade. I think it'd make a good neck knife. I like the full-sized handle length. As you can see, I got plenty of room to stretch out on here. It makes actually controlling that blade very simple, kind of like a physician's scalpel, right? Even though the blade is small, you still need that full-sized handle to have full control over it, and that's what you get here. It also comes with some really cool I almost said aftermarket, some original market options like these handle scales. These come in the package with every one of these Lightfoots. So if you're not feeling the raw steel handle, you can attach these with included hardware, get a little more gripitude to it, a little more hand-filling grip. Great sheath, great Kydex sheath, as all Work Toughs have. Just a cool EDC option and a great buy for the price, if you ask me. The last of the Work Toughs we're going to talk about today is the new Ninjuko Gen 2, designed by friend of the show, Joe Flowers. Always love to see a Joe Flowers design on the table. And as soon as you know that, I think you can see where Joe is going with this one. We've got a tactical Puko crossover, if I had to name it, especially with the name like Ninjuko. I think he was trying to put that little worm in our brains there.
Pooptical.
It is very pooptical. This comes in at $148.99. And the Gen 2 upgrades include a change to AEBL steel and a slightly thicker blade stock. Both of those changes I think were smart tweaks to the formula here, because the grind is quite, normally I'm sort of all in favor of going thinner, optimizing for slicing. But But on a blade shape like this, with such a thin, straight-backed point and a relatively high grind, a little extra thickness is not unwelcome. It's going to help keep that blade tougher, less susceptible to breaking and bending, and reinforce the tip a little bit especially. AEBL also does the same things. It is one of, if not the toughest, conventionally made stainless steels. So an excellent choice for a crossover design like this that is going to be pushed hard in a bunch of different directions. I love the handles on these two. Really cool options are available now. This is the kind of topo engraved one. There's like a jungle themed one. They all look great and feel great too. This is the puko part. Other than the blade shape, the handle is just that brilliant simplicity to a traditional puko. It kind of swells in the middle to lock you into place without having other ergonomic features like a finger scallop or something that kind of force you to hold it one way. You can hold this any dang way you please. Reverse grips, pinch grips work great thanks to these finger scallops. Yeah, the hammer grip is awesome in this. Plenty of kind of real estate to push into, and I feel well supported no matter how I hold this. I even like it kind of choked back here with this little fishtail. It's not going to be a chopping knife, but if I needed to kind of chip away at something, carve a little notch and just try to get that notch real clean, I like how it's kind of feeling in that motion as well. So Joe Flowers, bushcraft expert, explorer extraordinaire, and legendary knife maker. Speaking of bushcraft, we've got a new one from Mora. This is the Amberg Compact in a brand new Sandy Shores beige colorway. These come in at $42.99 and have a really nicely designed sheath system. So let me show you the sheath right up front here because this thing is pretty sweet. It snaps into place, they're injection molded, and you've got this removable kind of sheath for your sheath. It's a drop loop system. Allows you to attach it to your belt with a nice low carry. It's not going to be poking you in the gut too much. And it's also rotatable. So, you can kind of cant it out of the way or however it's going to be most accessible and comfortable for you. This system allows you to set that up. Now, I think the compact Amberg has been on the channel before, but it's a brand new, it's kind of a whole new family for Mora. So I wanted to take the opportunity to put it in front of you guys again because I think it's a really interesting new addition. I mean, anytime Mora does something all new, I at least pay very close attention because really nobody even competes with them in terms of value for money in the fixed blade market. This to me is like if you enjoyed a compact or maybe you're already kind of further up the escalating price ladder of knife collecting and you're not interested in the most value-priced Moras. Like, as good as the compact is, the sheaths are a little hard to live with. They rattle. They don't carry that comfortably. So the Amberg, the whole family, I think, is kind of the answer to that. It offers a lot of the same utility as the companions. The handle is, just so comfortable, so easy to hold and use. Kind of a bit of over-molded grip to them that is just reassuring even if your hands are wet. The compacts have a compound grind, so it's a true Scandi here at the rear and a bit more of like a saber flat grind thing at the tip for better slicing geometry. I like Mora's compound grinds quite a bit. I really enjoy my Mora Eldris, which is kind of like a little baby version of this. So, yeah.
Eldris grew up.
The Eldris grew up, you get the Amberg Compact. All right, we have some new folders from Toor to check out here. The first of which is the XT1 Delta. Now, the Delta has been on the table before, but this is actually all new because it's got a liner lock instead of a frame lock. It also means that the price is lower. These are $335. They come in with 3.3 inches of S35 VN steel and sculpted G10 handles. Now the XT1 Delta has kind of an aggressive pistol grip, tactical ergonomic thing going on. It really kind of curves and crimps your hand together into a fist-like grip every which way you hold it. You can kind of relax a little bit if you choke back and get that pinky over the end of the handle there. It's also nice in a pinch grip, but in that hammer grip, man, it kind of grips back, if you know what I mean. The sculpted G10 handles offer a bit of extra texture, and then this blade is also super powerful. Got a modified sheep's foot reverse tanto, dare I say, thing going on.
That's where the power comes from.
You know, it drops that tip a little bit, so you can kind of lead with it easier as you're going down into stuff. Not too much belly to curve away from you. You just kind of hold on and power through with this one. Yeah, nice thick blade stock too. It's got a good weight to it without being overbuilt, in my opinion. And this colorway also looks really nice. You know, you got the green, you got the FDE and the gold coming together into a very appealing package. Next up is an all-new crossbar lock from Toor, the Bateman. This comes in at $350 with 3.5 inches of MagnaCut steel and a selection of aluminum handles. We got black, gold, and this blue here. This knife is much more straightforward than the Delta, kind of both literally and figuratively. Literatively, as I said. The Tanto blade is somewhat aggressive. You know, we've got a fairly precise tip there, good secondary tip, and a little bit of belly on that secondary edge, or primary edge, depending on how you look at it. I like Tanto blades that blend a bit of belly with a bit of straight. It makes it a better it gives it more character on each side. So if you want some slicing, if you want some curvature, you have it. If you want that straight, kind of more like chisel type work, you have that as well. The texture on this handle is quite aggressive. It really bites back into your fingers, which gives a reassuring feel to the ergonomics for sure. Nice finger scallop to lock you in, and great crossbar lock, you know. Ambidextrous, easy to use. One kind of nice detail is, yes, the pocket clip is ambidextrous, but they did not have to add extra screws to make that happen. You kind of just take these two out, flip the thing over, and have a clean presentation on either side. Nice little touch here. All Toor knives are made in the USA as well. At this point, they're not really like a new manufacturer anymore, but they are still growing. They feel substantially different from other makers on the marketplace. Their thumb studs are different. The way their crossbar lock feels is different. The texture of their handles is different. These are little things, but when you're paying $350 for a knife and you're supporting American manufacturing, it's nice to get something that gives you some authentic character of the people who made it, and Toor absolutely delivers in that regard. All right, we are done with the knives, but we are not done with the items on the table because we still have this new folding saw to talk about. This is the Woxna Folding button lock folding saw, and these are pretty nice. I'm digging this. This one is the 7-inch version. It comes in at $194.95, and it is an excellent choice if you're shopping for either a backpack saw to take while you're camping, or just around the house taking care of the shrubberies type saw. A couple things about this saw I think set it apart from the competition. First, you've got the button lock, which, important to me at least, it locks the saw closed. So if this is going to be your travel backpack bushcraft saw, it's much appreciated to keep the blade locked closed in your pack while you're rumbling around. I've been getting more into like motorcycle camping lately, so having tools that lock closed is very important to me because, you know, should I have a little tip over or something, a bunch of force gets, you know, suddenly injected into my luggage. I don't want things flying open and sharp blades slinging everywhere. So that's an excellent feature for you bushcrafters and campers. The handle is also very nice. It's wooden, it's contoured, bit of shapeliness to it. You could two-hand it if you like, but it's gonna feel comfortable when you're working. And then for the blade, it's an excellent wood saw. It's thinner at the spine than at the teeth, so you're not gonna have the blade binding up at all. The teeth are very sharp and very pointy. And I'm not gonna test this one on wood, because then we'd have to take it out of stock, but I am absolutely certain that this would rip through whatever you were gonna, put it up against.
Wood rip wood.
Wood rip wood. Of that, we can be sure. So these are available with walnut wood handles, as you see here. You can get a longer 10-inch blade. You can also get it with oak wood handles and a black oxide finished blade. Pretty nice looking kit that is gonna feel right at home in your bushcraft essentials. Okay, we got some new hammers from Estwing. A bunch of new hammers, in fact. I think we added more than a dozen, but this was my favorite of the bunch. And I do love a good hammer. I mean, knives are extra special, but they can't all be knives. Sometimes you just need something to smash with, and this hammer is a cool option. This is actually a Ferrier's hammer. This comes in at $226, which sounds like a lot, but this is a specialty tool for people in a specialty trade. Farriers are the people who put shoes on horses, and this is designed with an angle that allows them to kind of work between their legs, which is how you put the shoes on the horses, how you get the horse comfortable enough to be able to hack and hammer at its little feet there. Well, actually, they're not even feet, they're fingers. They stand on their middle fingers, if we're talking anatomically.
I knew they were rude.
Horse anatomy aside, this is an exceptionally fine hammer. Couple things that set it apart. First of all, it's what we call full tang. So the length is fully forged down through the entire handle. It gives it a more kind of neutral balance than your typical hammer, which is all up in the head. It makes it easier to be gentle with it if you need to. This is made for farriers, but it would also work well as a finishing hammer, as like kind of a delicate. When you need to be delicate with a tough tool, I think this is what you would reach for. And check out how the hardware has been clocked. That is the kind of thing you usually only see on like full custom gun builds or something. Like, that is exceptional attention to detail. Estwing has been making hammers and other kind of impact tools, hand tools in the USA for generations, and you love to see them continuing to make world-class stuff. Last and technically least, we have this new multi-tool from Leatherman. Okay, it's not least in terms of what this thing can do, because it has a bunch of features, right? We got a bottle opener, we've got a screwdriver / pry bar, and a little opening notch that allows you to kind of score cardboard, open packages, rip through tape, that kind of thing. But it is least in terms of size and price. This is $10, and it is, a one-piece keychain multi-tool from Leatherman. It's in the name, it's the opener. Whether you got a bottle, a box, or a battery cover that you need to unscrew, this will get you in a pinch, and will just hang out on your keychain unnoticed until you need it. All right, thanks for hanging out with us today on this beautiful New Knives Thursday. I've been Seth V. That's Thomas behind the camera. We'll see you next time.
Time for words and sizzle.